All right, RV,
Yep.
you batter up. Joseph Bramlett, 24. What's the hardest part about coming back from an injury?
Oh, the hardest part coming back from an injury. Honestly, for me, I can only speak for myself. I never really had an issue coming back. I always looked at. I hate to say this. I always looked at injuries as kind of like a blessing of in disguise that
Mhm.
you got an off season. Really, like you really got a true off season. Yes, are you missing a championship? Like I always did. My knees were my left knee was always an issue. I missed out on two outdoor championships, meaning to race to be eligible for a championship to race that outdoor season. Fixing my ACL, getting ready, making sure I didn't miss Supercross. But during that time, it's just a good. Yes, I had surgery, but it's just a good downtime to just kind of recharge and mainly on the mental side, to where you didn't have anywhere to show up, didn't have anywhere to be, and you didn't have that
Mhm.
living in that pressure cooker of trying to win. You were home on the weekends and you were rehabbing your knee. That was the only thing on your plate that you had to worry about during those times. So um and then by the end of it, as it's starting to get closer to riding, you also have the urge and the itch, and you're more excited to get back to the track than just being stuck in doing the same old thing. So the injury for me was always almost a blessing in disguise, because I would come back a bit more hungry or glad to be back on the motorcycle. So that's how I looked at injuries. It never got in my head like, oh man, I had a big crash. Hey, it's all part of the sport. I was raised in this sport. It's just like jumping on the bull. Those bull riders get hit all the time, and they get back. It's just part of the deal. And
Yeah.
when you're at our level, you've had the injuries, the big crashes, and you just know, like I never got scared to get back on my bike because, oh man, I had a big crash,
Yeah.
6 months ago. It just never really entered my mind.
Yeah, I think for me, coming back from an injury, I agree with everything you said. I think just worried a little bit that, hey, maybe that I hadn't. I was worried that maybe I'd lost that edge that I'd had, or like the guys had raised their bar a little bit on the time that I was off. Definitely a blessing in disguise, and it was nice the time off to kind of just heal up and take a break. But I was just like, man, I was hoping that I could still pick up where I left off.
Let
Good,
me
good
ask
one.
you this, RC. Did you
Yeah.
feel better when you came back from like a knee injury? Obviously, the first couple days or first couple weeks, you don't want to, you're a little tentative with your knee. My
Right.
mind was left, so I'm like, just be careful of your left knee. Like don't get it caught. But other than that, I almost felt for me, and this is all, and you answer too. For me, I almost felt better. I almost felt faster. I felt
Yeah.
more energetic on the motorcycle. So I ultimately I felt better from my time off. I'm like I had my practice bike mechanic who goes, dude, I think you came back day one and you look faster. You are faster. The time's telling me you're faster than when you left 4 months ago.
I think that, yeah, totally. And I think that is because, like you were talking about the break and almost like a blessing in disguise, because you and I and our training schedule and how much we rode and what we were doing off the bike, we were burning the flame at both ends. And hey,
Mhm.
you've been open about it. Like there's things you wish you would have changed, and embracing how these older guys are embracing what they're doing, maybe not training to the level and burning themselves out like you and I did, but the longevity is certainly much better. So I think that feeling that you had was probably just because you weren't completely fried,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. All right, Jordan Dennis, 14. How do you guys get focused on race day if you're having outside issues, family, girlfriend, stress, whatever? How do you block that out when it comes to race day to concentrate on the task ahead?
Honestly, I've dealt with my fair share of drama between my mom and dad
Yeah.
issues and things like that. That was something that I dealt with for a couple years
Mhm.
during my career.
Mhm.
And I've said this to my mom, like I don't know exactly how, but with all that outside noise and all that stuff maybe going through that I was dealing with during the week, or
Yep.
even day of, let's say
Yep.
day of, like when you roll down, at least for me, when I rolled down into the stadium floor. And I was just telling somebody asked me this question, how is it rolling down there? You know, somebody that didn't know moto. And I'm like, honestly, everything, when you roll into that gate and you roll down into that stadium and you get behind the gate there and roll into it, like for me, everything completely shut off. Like it was like not blackout, but like, yes,
Yeah.
I was just focused on the gate. And I was telling Gage this. When I roll you into the gate or when you step into that batter's box, you do everything the same every time. So that way it becomes repetition, right?
Yeah.
And then even for your mental state of that, it's like you're not thinking of this or that, you know. And I know some guys have a hard time blocking out what happens outside of or outside this arena. And so for me, everything just kind of went, call it black. Like the only thing I focused on was racing, and at that high level, with what was on the line, you know, call it money, safety. You know, like we're riding Supercross and we're, you know, 450s. It's obviously everybody sees how you know, sharp you need to be on that on the motorcycle. And for me, I just blocked everything out. I don't know how I did it. I think I was one of
Well,
the better
I
ones that did it.
I can tell you how you did it, and I'm gonna interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Jord, I'll tell you, and I'm gonna brag on my man here, is, he's the one of the best ever at, compartmentalizing stuff like that,
Yep.
and his list outside of his injuries, I mean, you go back, the man just told you he lost 2 championships because he was injured, so stack those 2 championships back onto his resume, and this would be title 26. But he's one of the best at compartmentalizing um, anything. And I feel like when you in any sport, when you see guys that win multiple champions and are the best to have ever done it from a championship standpoint, they have that ingredient, and I feel like not many people have that, and you are one of the best, and that's how you were able to, you know, that's how you're able to get the championships, is
Well,
you get in that zone, and no matter what is going on, dude, you're able to block it out when it's
yep.
time to pay the bills, and that's George. That is why. That is why.
Well, thanks.
Um,
See?
yeah, absolutely.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.